stole from everyone in your building.
Get the money back. What you trying to steal? $20 million.
On November 4th.
You think the guys you want to try to do the job with?
Man canceled.
The robbery can change very quickly. A few days ago, my homie got shot in the face. Then what you gonna do?
Die. I'm gonna die. Ben Stiller, Eddie Murphy.
Better use your fingers when you find the entry point. You married?
No, I ain't married. I'm still Tower Heist, David Guilty.
Slow it down, Eddie. You didn't see the living style she had to deal with in Precious. Just saying. That's of course Gabrielle Sidibe, by the way, from Precious, based on the novel pushed by Sapphire. But with all that said, welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. And today we are taking a look at the two new releases of November 4th, 2011. And we're starting off with, of course, the biggest of the two, Tower Heist. In this film, you have employees of an exclusive apartment building who lose their pensions in a Ponzi scheme of a Wall Street businessman played by Alan Alda, and enlist the aid of a criminal played by Eddie Murphy, a bankrupt businessman, and an immigrant mate to break into his apartment and steal back their money while avoiding the FBI agents in charge of the case. And, this is a movie where, a lot of it should work, and yet it does, and yet sometimes it doesn't quite work at the same time. It's a very confusing thing, but yeah, it's weird because the cast overall is great. Ben Stiller, Eddie Murphy, Casey Affleck, Michael Pena, Gabrielle Sidibe, Téa Leoni, Matthew Broderick, Alan Alda. I mean, just a stacked cast in this movie. And they do a great job with the material that they're given. And the relationships between all the characters overall are very nicely done. The action sequences are also pretty good, too. It's probably the best movie that Brett Ratner has directed since Red Dragon. I mean, but at the same time, though, there is a lot of comedy in this movie that really does fall flat, and most of it is really not that funny. There are some jokes in here that do work sometimes, but most of the time, not really. And for a film like this, we've got Eddie Murphy in here, and I'll get to him in just a second, because he's really that good in the film. You expect so much more in terms of better comedy than just... This is more on comedy on a sitcom level, like if you're watching this on CBS or something like that. But with Eddie Murphy in particular, though, he is fantastic in this movie. This is a return to form for him after so many years of just really bad comedies. Norbit, Meet Dave, Imagine That. Like, this is him returning to his Beverly Hills Cop days. I mean, he's the one thing that you take away from this movie, and he just knocks it out of the park in this movie. This is one of his best performances overall. I like this better than Dreamgirls, even though Dreamgirls I thought was a great movie and all. Dreamgirls was basically Eddie Murphy being Eddie Murphy. It wasn't really asking to do anything different in here, but then again, hey, Morgan Freeman and George Clooney have been doing that for the same years now, and we've loved them for that. I mean, I thought Matthew Broderick and Gabrielle Sidibe were also really good, too. Alan Alda's doing a good little turn as the antagonist in here. But then there's the rest of the cast in here. Most of the rest of the cast is kind of bland and mediocre at best. Ben Stiller and Casey Affleck in particular. Like, still, I can let it slide because he's basically doing the same shtick he does in the Meet the Parents movies that makes him kind of likable, but also makes him kind of a douchebag at the same time. And I felt like he wasn't... But with Casey Affleck, he really did not feel like he wanted to be in this movie. Like, he really did feel like he was just there to cash a paycheck, and it felt like he wasn't giving his all like he did in movies where he actually did show his acting talents in Assassination of Jesse James and Gone Baby Gone. It doesn't also help that the story is very predictable, too. Like, you can literally predict everything that's going to happen all the way to the end of the movie. You can predict how the heist is going to go. You can predict how the bad guy of the movie is going to eventually figure out his way into here and kind of screw him over in the end. Like, this is stuff we've seen done before, and there's not one point in here where I was surprised by what was going on screen at all. And, getting back to Eddie Murphy, who really was great in this, and basically, he was given, because of this movie and the hype he was getting behind it, he was going to host the Academy Awards, which was going to be produced by Brett Ratner that year. But then, Brett Ratner had to open his fucking mouth. So what had basically happened was that Brett Ratner was made the co-producer of the Academy Awards, and Eddie Murphy was going to host the Oscars, and, there was comments to Howard Stern during an interview promoting Tower Heist that from Brett Ratner saying, rehearsals are for fags, and disparaging remarks about actress Olivia Munn. And so Ratner basically resigned from his co-producing duties, and basically he took Eddie Murphy with him. I mean, I really do feel like Eddie Murphy was forced out of it because of Brett Ratner, and because he was probably told, hey, don't fuck with the movie's success, man. And sure enough, Eddie Murphy dropped out, and then they replaced him with Billy Crystal. And Billy Crystal's a great Oscar host, but Eddie Murphy hosting the Oscars would have been incredible. It would have been a revival of his career at that point, to really give him to the next level, but sadly, it wasn't the case, because instead of hosting the Oscars around that time, Paramount decided to screw him over again by releasing another one of his god-awful movies with 1,000 words, which we'll get to that in March of 2012, but missed opportunity for Eddie Murphy to essentially reinvigorate his career by hosting the Oscars that year, but on top of that, there was also another controversy with the film, not really related to the film itself, but how Universal was going to put the movie out. Not but a month before the movie came out, Universal had announced a plan that they were going to put this movie out on home video through the Comcast Video On Demand service 3 weeks after its theatrical release for a rental cost of $59.99. It was supposed to be announced as kind of a test case, but then movie theaters basically saw this as seeing their ticket sales going away for them. Cinemark threatened to not show the film, and so after that, and also Galaxy, Regency Theaters, all these different theater houses, they all basically came in and said, you do this, and we're not putting this movie in theaters. Sorry. And Universal basically said, okay, we're not going to do that. And they never did it again. It was never something that became the norm almost 15 years later, and yeah, it became the norm 15 years later for a movie to only be in theaters for a month. So yeah, Tower Heist was basically just too early for, Universal was basically too early for Tower Heist to do that, but nowadays they'll just do it anyway. I mean, hell, Warner Brothers puts their movies out on Blu-ray but less than 2 months after the movie's out in theaters. I mean, I just did a thing today talking about how Disney announces their titles, and they don't even wait a couple months before they announce the titles in general. They basically just say, you know, we're going to put these out, and they're going to be coming out 2 weeks from now. So, yeah, start saving now, because, especially with Steelbooks, because, you know, Steelbooks will always be around, and Steelbooks basically mean that, you know, if you don't get the Steelbooks now, then you're never going to get them, because they sell up quickly. But I'm just going off on a tirade right now, because I'm sorry. They just announced the Tron Steelbooks this week, and I want to get those, but they're really hard to come by because they get sold out so immediately. And every time that someone says, oh, they're back up again, you go to the website, it's just like, nope, sold out. Like, makes no sense. But anyway, I'm just going off on a tangent here. But back to Tower Heist, just kind of wrapping it up here. I like this movie. It's kind of an enjoyable movie in the tradition of the Rush Hour films. Nothing great, but nothing bad either. It has a lot of problems, but for the most part, it's an enjoyable movie. It's a movie that is somewhere in the middle of the films of the year. It's not one of the best, not one of the worst, just a good movie. Good film overall, so take that for what you will. So with that said, let's go ahead and wrap this up by taking a look at the last one we have here, a very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas in 3D. Yes, I'm going to keep doing that with every 3D movie. Don't judge me.
I shot Santa Claus in the face. He's real, and I shot him in the face. What?
Do you want to see my room?
Ah, Mary, he's singled up.
Come on.
Sorry, I don't date black guys.
What?
What are you doing?
What?
My daughter's in there.
What?
Neil Patrick Harris. Welcome to heaven. I'm Jesus.
Jesus
Christ. I practically run this place.
Oh, for reals?
I mean, my dad owns it, but I'm kind of number one.
You're one of those.
Watch out!
Who are those guys?
I think I was starting to trip out a little bit.
Those kids put something in here.
Dude, we're claymated.
Awesome.
Oh my God. It's like that scene from A Christmas Story. How did this happen?
Oh, is it? Is it like the scene from Christmas Story?
I'm sorry, dude.
Oh!
Just walk it off.
I don't know. Hasn't the whole 3D thing jumped the shark by now?
You don't understand. It makes Avatar look avatarded. It's gonna be amazing.
Who are you looking at?
Merry Christmas. I hope you're still alive.
What are you talking about?
We saw you get shot in that whorehouse.
In Texas.
You branded a prostitute.
Remember?
You have to be more specific.
A very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas. In 3D.
Why don't you take your sweater off? For a massage. Just a couple girlfriends.
Okay.
Get off him! I thought you were
gay.
I am gay. Gay for that.
Against the menses.
I mean, just that trailer alone just shows you more effort went into making this a good sequel than Escape from Guantanamo Bay did. And yeah, after watching Escape from Guantanamo Bay recently, that film was just a mess of a movie. But this takes Harold and Kumar back on track to what it should be. And like I said, I kind of already did a review for this for Christmas in July. So if you want to go check out my full thoughts on that, please go ahead and check out the link in the corner as well as the description below. But if you want a quick sum up of my thoughts on this, 6 years have elapsed since their last adventure, leaving Harold and Kumar, once again played by John Cho and Cal Penn, estranged from one another with very different families, friends, and lives. But when Kumar arrives on Harold's doorstep during the holiday season with a mysterious package in hand, he accidentally burns down his father-in-law's beloved Christmas tree, and you do not want to mess with his father-in-law because he's played by Danny Trejo. So yeah, to fix the problem, Harold and Kumar embark on a mission through New York City to find the perfect Christmas tree, once again stumbling into trouble at every single turn, including killing Santa Claus, giving a baby the smell of weed, and taking some kind of mysterious liquid at a party that makes him go clay-mated. And of course, you gotta throw in your Neil Patrick Harris. I love the fact that you can tell that's the Green Band trailer because of how pixelated the ladies' bras are. When in the movie, they're literally naked. Like, it's just, they're not even trying to hide it. But yeah, like I said, the first Harold and Kumar movie was a great film. The second one was just a clustered mess of a movie where they went too big, go big or go home, and they should have just went home because, man, that movie was completely a disaster on so many levels. But this takes it back on track. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of hit and miss moments in this film, but there are more hits than misses in this particular case of the film. The 3D overall is just so well done. The 3D overall is fantastic to look at. It reminds me a lot of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which wasn't released in 3D, but it probably should have. The comedy overall does work well here. The raunchy jokes are used very nicely, and it's nicely paced, and it's not a long movie at all. And again, Neil Patrick Harris, man. Like, Neil Patrick Harris is one of the great entertainers we have, and this movie proves how great he is, because this is just right after he came out of the closet, and so this movie just says we're going to have the time of our lives, using that as an element to our story, his character in this movie, and it plays in a lot of hilarious moments in there. You see a little bit in the trailer there, but trust me when I tell you, that's the tamest compared to what he actually does in this movie. But I mean, the guy really does have it all, man. He shines in here. When he's on screen, the movie just takes off to another level. With that said, though, the special effects do seem very fake and poorly done, and the effects are kind of on the level of something like a G.I. Joe or X-Men First Class. They do look very fake at times, but at the same time, though, you kind of are in along for the ride. It does manage to provide both a compelling and funny look at the spirit of Christmas and the purpose of friendship, and also dealing with growing up and dealing with becoming a parent. These guys are evolving. They are maturing, which is more you can say for a lot of different movies in particular, where you have a lot of different sequels where you have people that are growing up and that are getting older, but they still act the same age. The Entourage movie for a prime example of that. But here, this actually does mature the characters, and it still is very funny. It's a really funny, really solid film, and it does a really good job at hammering Christmas into the storyline without feeling like it's being forced in on you. And if there's any new holiday movie that comes out this year that I think is going to get you excited for the holidays, or at least that was back then when I reviewed this for the first time, it's definitely this movie. This is a film that is so well done, so well put together. I love it. A very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas. Definitely check it out this Christmas for yourself.
Does he know my range? Does he know he butchered my mother? Ah, let me see your face.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films that make up November 11th, 2011. 11/11/11. This is the only time I'm ever going to be able to say that. So yeah, I am going to say it over and over again. Maybe not over and over again, but you get the idea. Eons after the gods won their mystic struggle against the Titans, a new evil threatens the land. Mad with power, King Hyperion, played by Mickey Rourke, has declared war against humanity. Amassing a bloodthirsty army of soldiers disfigured by his own hand, Hyperion has scorched Greece in search of the legendary Epirus bow, a weapon of unimaginable power forged in the heavens by Ares, played by Daniel Starman. Only he who possesses the bow can unleash the Titans who have been imprisoned deep within the walls of Taurus since the dawn of time and thirst for revenge. In the king's hands, the bow would rain destruction upon mankind and annihilate the gods. But ancient law dictates that the gods must not intervene in man's conflict. They remain powerless to stop Hyperion until a peasant named Theseus, played by Henry Cavill, comes forth as their only hope. Secretly chosen by Zeus, Theseus must save his people from Hyperion and his hordes, rallying a bunch of fellow outsiders, including visionary priestess Federa, played by Frida Pinto from Slumdog Millionaire, and cunning slave Stavros, played by Stephen Dorff. Which should be pretty much everything you need to know if Stephen Dorff is one of your big stars in Immortals. But one hero will lead the uprising, or watch his homeland fall into ruin as his gods vanish into legend. Blah, 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 blah. It's 300. It's literally produced by the guys who did 300. But it's also Clash of the Titans, because that was a big hit last year. And guess what? We got a sequel coming out, so we're going to beat the sequel to that. And yeah, this is a bad movie, man. This is a really, really lousy film. And again, it's Tarsem. I think the big problem is Tarsem. On a visual level, yes, it's incredible to watch his movies, but everything else, from the casting to the action to the costume designs, the production, and mostly the storytelling with the pretentious "ask me what it means" mentality that he had with The Cell, it's not as much bad as that movie was in this, but it's there. And it doesn't help that it is just ripping off 300, because 300 was the big hit 4 years ago, and everyone was trying to copy that success, and sure enough, this was being made when that boom was happening, and thus, the film we have here is a film that is pretty much what you expect it to be. A movie that is a lip-off, not really that much in terms of action or anything enjoyable out of it, except for the visuals, but other than that, though, there's really nothing there to this movie. It was largely forgotten when it came out. Well, yeah, it may have been the top movie at the box office, but you never hear anybody ever talk about this movie since, because it's a steaming pile of garbage. It's a waste of your time. You're sitting there for over 2 hours while this movie goes on, and there's just nothing of value to it whatsoever. It's a lousy film. It's a boring film. It's just nothing there. There's just nothing in this movie that makes it work. But, despite all of that, everything I just mentioned, it is still heads above our next movie, which is a film that you would think is something that there's no way that Adam Sandler could stoop to a low this big. But, lo and behold, Jack and Jill is definitely that.
Adam Sandler is Jack. Adam Sandler is Jill. This November, Adam Sandler shits in your eyes, ears, and mouth. It's Adam Sandler in Rated R for Pirates.
Got a date with Al Pacino? I think Al Pacino wants to play Twister with your sister. Adam Sandler, funny.
Oh, thank God, it was only a bit on South Park. I completely forgot that was something that was completely made up for South Park, and there is no way in absolute hell that a studio would be this desperate and this pathetic to make a movie this terrible, and you know exactly where the joke is coming here.
This holiday season, something terrifying is coming to visit Jack. His sister, Jill.
What are you doing? Why can't I just lay with you?
From the producers of Grown Ups.
Hi, buddy! You're missing out!
She's crazy. She's never leaving.
Let's go! Oh, my God!
Adam Sandler is
Please don't destroy my pool.
Jack and Jill. November 11th.
Oh yeah, it's real. It is absolutely real, and it's absolutely the worst thing Adam Sandler has been involved in. Again, saying a whole lot considering the bad movies that this guy has been involved in. But as you can see, Adam Sandler stars in a dual role as the titular twin siblings, Jack and Jill, as well as Katie Holmes playing his wife, and Al Pacino. And it tells the story of an advertising executive who dreads the Thanksgiving visit of his unemployed twin sister, who overstays into Hanukkah at a time when he's instructed to procure Al Pacino's appearance in an upcoming Dunkin' Donuts commercial. Do I even need to say what's wrong with this movie? you pretty much know everything that's wrong with this. This is a movie that is clearly just Adam Sandler given a blank check by Columbia Pictures and saying, do whatever you want to do. We don't care about how bad it is or how lazy it is. We want to get a movie out in time for Thanksgiving, and don't worry about the PG-13 rating. We're going to make sure it's PG so that families can come out and see your garbage movie, because that's exactly what this movie is. Bucky Larson was bad. Zookeeper was bad. Just Go With It was bad. This right here is the bottom of the barrel. This is the absolute worst thing ever. There is no plot. There's nothing about this movie that works. The humor is terrible. The writing is terrible. The cameos are awful. And I know everyone praises Al Pacino for this because, hey, it's something that Al Pacino's not used to doing. But I'm sorry, I don't give a shit. It's not what he does is not funny. Like, I don't care that the Dunkachino thing has become a meme. I don't care. It's not funny. The only people that find that funny are people that find other stupid memes that are not funny. It's not funny. That's the biggest problem with the movie. It's not funny. Nothing about this movie is funny. The gross-out humor isn't funny. The voice that Adam Sandler gives to this woman, if you thought that Whitey was an annoying voice in 8 Crazy Nights, Whitey is gold compared to whatever the fuck he was doing in this movie. This film is such a lousy mess of a movie that has no heart to it whatsoever, that has nothing of value to it whatsoever, and stupid people bought this bullshit. It went on to become a hit. It did become a hit at the box office, and it just, I mean, I have nothing else to say about this movie. It's garbage. It's not funny. Nothing about this is funny. Nothing about this is great to watch. All the characters are obnoxious and annoying. There is nothing of value in here whatsoever. I'm sorry. It's just not funny. It's not funny. Have you got the point yet? It's not funny. It's not funny. So anyway, not much more I could really add to this film. So let's go ahead and try to end the show on a much more positive note with our last movie that we have here, Leonardo DiCaprio starring as J. Edgar Hoover in Clint Eastwood's J. Edgar.
Mr. Hoover, the tape came in.
Bring it to my private office. Miss Gandhi, suppose I had private information on someone in a position of power. What were you doing with wiretaps in that house?
Is that legal? Seal off his office. I want those files.
We are the sinners, Edgar.
Yes, Mother.
Who else knows about this?
No one, sir.
J. Edgar. Rated R. In theaters November 11th.
And sadly, there is not a lot about J. Edgar Hoover cross-dressing in this movie, which, yeah, that's a negative mark against the movie, per se. But, like I said, this is the best movie we had this weekend, but considering we had Immortals and Jack and Jill, is that really saying much? I don't think so. Even this one itself is not even that great overall. Written by the guy who won the Oscar for writing the script for Milk, Dustin Lance Black, the film focuses on J. Edgar Hoover's life from the 1919 Palmer raids onward. And stars Leonardo DiCaprio in the title role. You also have Armie Hammer, Naomi Watts, Josh Lucas, Judi Dench, and more notably, Adam Driver in his film debut, and a few months before he made his breakout role on HBO's Girls. And as far as one of Clint Eastwood's movies he's directed, this is definitely not one of his better movies in general. It's not because of Leonardo DiCaprio. The guy is giving it his all in here. And this was back when, he was trying anything to win an Oscar, for a well-deserved Oscar, but nothing was ever coming to him. It only took him 5 years later and getting raped by a bear in The Revenant to essentially have that happen. But the biggest problem with J. Edgar is that everything else about the film, besides Leonardo DiCaprio's performance, falls apart at the seams. The makeup on J. Edgar is terrible. Like, it really is badly put together. The lighting in the movie is very... it looks like it's trying to look like a typical Clint Eastwood movie, but at least other Clint Eastwood movies have that lower lighting work to its advantage. And here it just doesn't work. And there's nothing about the movie that is fascinating or groundbreaking in general, or stuff that we didn't already know about this guy already. Like, there really isn't anything to give this character some weight to him, or it really does feel like Clint Eastwood kind of half-assed his way through this movie. Like, you felt like there was so much left over from this film that could have been so great, And they pushed it off to the side because they just didn't feel like they had anything there to make this worth it in the long run. And yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio's great in the movie, but he does not make but the movie doesn't make itself salvageable just because of that one performance in general. And yeah, he's great in here, but everything else about it just feels like it's begging for an Academy Award, and it's not getting it anytime soon. Like, it didn't even get any Oscars. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio did get a Golden Globe nomination for his performance, but other than that, yeah, this thing came along pretty quickly. It wasn't a big hit overall. It did decent numbers overall, but the reviews were not that great, and you can kind of see why. It's a movie where DiCaprio really is the one thing that holds it together, but everything else about it, it's just your typical Oscar-contending biopic that isn't trying all that hard, and all it's trying to do is just, give us the Oscar for it. And no, they're not going to give it to you no matter how hard you try. So, take that for what you will. But, well, like I said, it is the best of the three movies, but J. Edgar being the best of the weekend, which had Immortals and Jack and Jill, really isn't saying a whole lot, unfortunately.
Measure of time with you will be long enough, but we'll start with forever.
That's impossible.
The Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn, Part 1, rated PG-13, November 18th.
Oh, what fun we're going to have this time around, and by fun I mean complete and utter torture. Welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the three films that make up November 18th, 2011. And of course we're starting off with the biggest new release, The Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1. Of course this is the first part of the last chapter of the Twilight series, which, if Harry Potter could split it up into two movies, then surely we can do it to great success. We're going to explain why that didn't work out. But after Bella and Edward's honeymoon, things take a turn for the worse when Bella realizes she is pregnant. The baby grows at an abnormally fast rate and causes many health problems to Bella. The Wolfpack see the unborn child as a threat and plan to get rid of it, but the Cullens do everything they can to ensure that both Bella and the unborn child remain safe. And like I said, this is where the fun begins, and of course by fun I mean complete and utter torture, because as bad as New Moon is, it pales nothing in comparison to the horrors of Breaking Dawn Part 1. And not the kind of horrors you expect for a movie about a vampire and a werewolf. This was literal torture. This was excruciating and painful to watch. I'm not even kidding. This is not a movie at all. It is nothing but watching really bad, shitty music videos that MTV would have played vividly back in 2011, back when they still had music videos, barely, and, these are nothing but, this whole movie is nothing but the soundtrack and the music videos blown up for the big screen, because the movie literally stops for these music videos, and they literally have a thread of a plot line that you have to sit through for 2.5 hours. Who wants to sit in this for 2.5 hours and get nothing of value out of it whatsoever? Well, Harry Potter did it, so why couldn't you? Harry Potter split the last film into 2 parts, so that means Twilight can do it too. Well, you're not saying anything bad about Harry Potter. Here's the major difference people need to understand. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows was split into 2 movies because the book was a 759-page book. So, of course, it needs to be split up into 2 movies because so much shit was going on in those books. Breaking Dawn is about 756 pages, but here's the major difference. Breaking Dawn Part 1 is a third of the last book. I shit you not. 33% of this book is in this movie. And they have nothing else to do with it but filled up with the most blandest, useless, and pointless stuff to make a 2.5-hour movie to make the audience think like they're seeing something special, when in the end they are completely wasting their time. It's like trying to watch a Cleveland Browns game and thinking that this is going to be their year, or a Dallas Cowboys game and thinking that it's going to be their year. It's not. You're completely wasting your time for no reason whatsoever. There is absolutely no reason why this needed to be as long as it was. It's filler. It's not even good filler. It's the kind of filler that they throw in to, again, make you think something important is happening, but it isn't. This is the equivalent of a YouTube video that is promising the greatest news ever, and you're just sitting there for 2.5 hours watching somebody rambling on and not getting anything of noteworthiness at the end, and they say, oh, by the way, this thing's going to happen. Thanks for watching. Like, they just wasted, you just wasted your time sitting there waiting for this big reveal, and they give it to you, and you've just sat there wasted your entire life for nothing. We can have this type of stuff, and it'd be fun. We just had it this past spring when they announced the cast for the Avengers Secret Wars. It was literally nothing but director's chairs revealing all the names. Yeah, it was long, it was pointless, because they would later put out a video not too long after that, condensing that 10-hour wait to a 2-minute trailer. But you know why we stuck around with it? Because we were intrigued. Because something interesting was happening when it really is literally nothing but watching these director's chairs just revealing who's in the movie. I mean, that was more entertaining than anything in this movie. Think about that for a second. I'll wait. You done? Okay. I don't care about any of these characters to waste my time with this bullshit. If I didn't say I was going to do this, like, I would have never watched these movies, and I would have never popped them in when I was going to watch them. But since I'm calling it like it is. It's a waste of your goddamn time. This movie tries to make it seem like something you need to see, like there's something important when there's not anything at all. It's just 2.5 hours of just sitting there being bored to death and getting nothing but a thread of a plot. There's nothing but shitty music videos from songs straight up the soundtrack. There's no reason to make this movie whatsoever. But wait a minute, what about those scenes that, I hate Twilight, but I hear the craziest scenes in that movie, like, you know, Bella and Edward have sex and it breaks the bed, and, you know, like, there's the scene where Edward actually beats up Bella, or the scene where Jacob has to, like, eat the placenta of Bella's character. Yeah, that's in the movie, but guess what? They made that even boring, too. Like, this movie did not give two shits about anybody, not even the fans. Like, the fans will probably like this regardless of what I ever have to say about it, but I'm sorry. This movie fails on so many levels. It fails to be entertaining for them. It fails to be entertaining for the non-haters who want to see all the grotesque stuff. It fails on every singulatory level. I think you get the point. Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1 is a waste of your goddamn time, and there's no reason whatsoever to ever watch this movie. As bad as the worst films in the Twilight series are, this is the absolute worst of the worst. Plain and simple. So let's try to get back in a much better mood here with a sequel to one of my favorite animated movies of all time. After 5 years, we finally get the continuing adventures of Mumble the Penguin and his family in Happy Feet 2.
Come on, son. Shake this world. That's it.
Uh-oh, Happy Feet.
On November 18th.
Come on, kids. They're not here.
We will find them.
Prepare for an adventure like nothing else on Earth.
Okie dokie.
Whoa, that was a big one. What's the best friend for if you're gonna bring a daddy and his boy together?
Beautiful.
Only on Dad's side.
Happy Feet 2. In theaters at IMAX 3D, November 18th.
Yeah, that trailer gives a lot of the indications of the many problems with this movie, which we're going to get into because there's definitely a lot of them. But there's, of course, a sequel to the 2006 Oscar-winning Best Animated Feature, Happy Feet, and has Mumble the Penguin once again, voiced by Elijah Wood, who has a problem. His son Eric, who is reluctant to dance, and he encounters this hero Puffin called the Mighty Sven, played by Hank Azaria, after having one of his big years with the Smurfs, Hop, and now this movie, who thinks he's a penguin that can fly. Things get worse for Mumble when the world is shaken by powerful forces, causing him to bring together the penguin nations and their allies to set things straight. The trailer just shows you doesn't even show that part of the movie. Like, none of the trailers really show that part of the film, honestly. Like, the more I think about it, but this was a movie I was really looking forward to because like I said, I love the first Happy Feet movie. On paper, it looked like a mediocre penguin movie with dancing and singing. And this was around that time when that was the norm. You know, March of the Penguins, Surf's Up, Madagascar. But this was one of the ones where it really stuck out the most because the animation was so good and the storytelling was very well done. It worked overall. Great characters, great story, interactions were great, the film was beautiful to look at. It was one of my favorite movies released that year, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So, naturally, I'm going into this with a lot of hope for it, and the sequel is definitely a disappointment, mostly in the fact that it's not as strong as the original film. But I will start off with the things I did really like about the movie, because there are things I liked about it. One of the big things about it that I really liked was that the animation was once again very good. The set pieces were still rendered very nicely. Most of the characters were very likable. The singing and dancing was just as good as the first movie. The soundtrack overall was pretty solid. The voice acting overall was really good, especially when you consider that, they lost some key members in between movies, because of course Brittany Murphy played Gloria in the first movie, but of course she unfortunately passed away in 2009, so they replaced her with Pink, and she was actually a good replacement overall. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a different voice, but you still bought the chemistry between her and Elijah Wood. You still bought them as a married couple, and it works very well to the advantages of the movie. And it does lead to my favorite scene in the entire movie. I mean, not only my favorite scene in the entire film, but one of the best scenes in movie history to me. The Bridge of Light sequence. I mean, this is, without a doubt, the best scene in the entire movie. And really, when you watch it, it's not hard to see why. It's a part of the movie where, it's the scene where Mumble is arguing with his son Eric about, scolding him for his beliefs about the fact that no penguin can fly and that none of the Emperor penguins are able to escape from this area that they're trapped in. And this is all coming after Eric had wandered off to see the puffin that I talked about earlier, named Sven, who, like I said, has this ability to fly, and hence gives Eric the idea that penguins can fly. And after this heated argument where, Mumble goes in separate ways and Eric is stressed out because of, his wool being kind of turned around on him, his mother, Gloria, tries to cheer him up by singing the song Bridge of Light, which, again, has some of the most gorgeous animation I've ever seen in the movie. I think the reason why this moment held up so well to me was that a lot of the heart and emotional impact that this movie was missing came back in this one scene in particular, and it helps that you have a great singing voice of Pink in there, but also this really damn good animation, like the colors in the sky whenever they're singing, it's so beautiful to look at, and that was what was missing most from the sequel. A lot of the beauty that made the first film so great to look at, there's scenes in that first movie that are so impressive to look at. Keep in mind, these are George Miller directed movies, and the guy knows what he's doing. I mean, the guy is phenomenal at his job. And it just works in here, and for a brief moment, the sequel actually had life to it, but the saddest part is that it's the only memorable thing that came out of this movie, because once that's over, you have to go back to the generic movie that follows, and that's where a lot of the major problems come into play with this film, because it suffers from a number of different things. First up, the new characters, most of them are pretty unnecessary. The most notable ones that I swear they threw them in there because they saw what Scrat meant to the Ice Age series and said, we need our own Scrat. So let's go ahead and get Brad Pitt and Matt Damon to star as two Krill who show up at various points in the movie. What is their purpose in the film? Be the comic relief. I mean, it's not enough what we got Robin Williams back in this movie. I mean, who wants to see more of Robin Williams? And why don't we just let's waste our time with Brad Pitt and Matt Damon as these characters who serve no purpose to the film whatsoever until the very end of the movie. And even then, all they're here to do is to be like the Scrat characters from Ice Age. I mean, they just show up out of nowhere, and for 99% of the film, they contribute nothing until the very end of the movie. Another big problem is that the film feels way too rushed. I mean, what I mean by that is that the pacing really does seem off. It's like the movie isn't even 15 minutes in, and already we're heading into the beginning of the conflict of the movie. And unlike the last film, where the film took its time to get to the conflict of that film, we're not even 15 minutes in, and already the icebergs hit the town and, keep these penguins contained in this one area. And the biggest flaw of the film overall is the story. It's all over the place. It's poorly done. In the first film, like I said, it took its time to get moving. It didn't feel the need to speed it up at any point, and it worked for the pacing of the film itself. And here, it just feels like it was way too contrived and lost. Like, it felt like it was a lost cause for this particular movie. We've had 3 animated sequels released this year. This one, Kung Fu Panda 2, and Cars 2, and only one of them expanded on the story and gave it a new, fresher look to it that wasn't seen in the previous movie, and that was Kung Fu Panda 2. They expanded the story and the universe to give the main characters and the world a bigger view, a bigger expansion of the universe, and they had time to put together a story with all these characters. Like, you felt new dynamics that weren't there before with Kung Fu Panda 2. Cars 2 didn't do that. I mean, Cars 2 basically just said, we're going to do jack all with the story, and we're going to throw in an unnecessary spy plot, and that film kind of got destroyed. And sadly in this, they do much of the same thing in Cars 2. They didn't do anything to expand on this universe, and instead gave us essentially a retread of the first film. And it did do what Cars 2 did, but it felt like it almost did at the same time. But it's just like, I hate movies that just end up, I also really hate movies that just end up out of nowhere. It ends just as the big conflict is over. Like, not even a minute after the icebergs come down. The penguins are saved, the movie ends, and the credits roll. It's just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, even in the first movie, they took their time after the big conflict was resolved to say, hey, you know, everything's gonna be okay. But in this case, now it's just like, nope, get the fuck out of here. We gotta get you out of here. It's just like, to me, that's the laziest way to end a movie. The previous 2 movies that Animal Logic did, Happy Feet and Legend of the Guardians, did not just end the movie out of nowhere. They gave the film time to wrap up every loose end, give us a little breather before we go to the credits, and you don't just wrap a movie up 30 seconds after the end of the climax. You're a movie. You're not a TV show, and you don't wrap up your story in 44 minutes. You have all the time in the world. You're in a movie theater. Be a movie. Plain and simple. So yeah, I'm very conflicted on this movie. There's a lot of things I didn't like about it, but with all that said, there is still a lot I did enjoy about it. I like the things that I gave praise for. The animation, the voice work, the amazing set pieces, the likable characters, the choreography, the singing, the dancing, the music. All that is great. The biggest problem with the film is that the story is all over the place, and it's not written well at all, and the pacing is way off. It isn't as bad as Cars 2, but it's nowhere up to the levels of Kung Fu Panda 2. And if we're being perfectly honest, besides the Bridge of Life sequence, the only reason why I went to see this movie multiple times in the theater, honestly, was because of this.
I am that great big battle capsule. There is my name. I only have one aim in life, and that is very plain. I want to catch that little bird and leave him right away. But just as I get close to him, this is what he'll say. I call, pretty cats are sweeping upon me. You daddy, oh, pretty cat, that pretty cat is me. I mean, how can I not be excited for another new 3D Looney Tunes short? But not only that, we're not just doing Wile E. and Coyote Roadrunner, we're doing Sylvester and Tweety, and that really is probably my favorite one of those shorts that they did. I mean, you see it right there with just the way that the fur and the whiskers and the texture on Sylvester and Tweety come out in this. Just, I mean, essentially it's a music video version of the classic song "I Taught Putty Tat" with Mel Blanc's voice over the characters of Sylvester and Tweety, but at the same time, it's still really fun to look at. The animation is great, the comedy is still really funny, and it is great to hear Mel Blanc's voice on the big screen once again. I mean, yeah, it's not much, but it works. It's very well done, and like I said, it's definitely the best of those 3D Looney Tunes shorts that they've done. And it's basically just a music video, but a fun music video too. Like, I mean, it's just a ton of fun. Like I said, it's one of my favorite sketch shorts from the 3D Looney Tunes era, and I really do love that one a lot. It was really the only reason I went to see Happy Feet 2 more than once in the theater, honestly. Other than that, though, it's definitely a step down from the previous movie. Granted, there are still a lot of elements I do like about it, but the stuff that I really don't like about it really stick out a lot, and overall, it's just a mixed opinion on me. I can't really say it's bad, but I can't really say it's great either, so take that for what you will. But for me,
Happy Feet 2 was definitely a step down from the previous movie, but it does still have stuff I really like about it, specifically that Bridge of Light sequence. I mean, that to me is the highlight of the movie, no question about it. So with that said, we talked about a bad sequel, we talked about a sequel, but let's talk about a good movie. Not a sequel by any means. I don't even know why I said sequel for this case, but let's talk about The Descendants with George Clooney.
The emperor penguin is technically a bird, although one that makes his home in the sea. So if you're wondering what he's doing up here on the ice, well, that's part of our story. Each year, at around the same time, he will leave the comfort of his ocean home and embark on a remarkable journey. He will travel a great distance, and though he is a bird, he won't fly. Though he lives in the sea, he won't swim.
I don't know why the brilliance of that trailer is so good. I don't know if it's maybe because of the fact that, you know, it's a trailer with March of the Penguins, and we just talked about Happy Feet 2, or just the fact that it's literally just them watching Morgan Freeman narrate the documentary March of the Penguins. That's the way they sold that movie in that trailer, and hey, it made for a really good movie in the long run. The Descendants is Alex Payne's follow-up to Sideways, his first film since then, so we're coming up on 7 years since that film, and the story of it follows Matt King, played by George Clooney, who's an attorney and land baron who struggles with unexpected occurrences in his monotonous life. He's dealing with his family, with his daughter, played by Shailene Woodley. You also have Beau Bridges, Judy Greer, Michael Ontkean, Matthew Lillard, and Robert Forster. This is co-written by Nat Faxon and Jim Rash, and it's funny because they actually won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay, which I thought was very interesting for the fact that, you know, the dean from Community actually got an Academy Award, and so did Ben from Ben and Kate, that great underrated show that lasted on Fox for one season for some stupid reason. But this is Alexander Payne doing what Alexander Payne does best. This is definitely one of his best movies overall, and ending a really strong year for George Clooney, who had The Ides of March earlier in the year, and he has this film here, and it's another winner for him. And it's Shailene Woodley. I think this was her big breakout role because she had been on The Secret Life of the American Teenager on ABC Family for the last couple of years, and this was her first real chance to show everybody that, you know, she's got the acting chops to work with here, and it really does work to her advantages. But, you know, sadly, she never became the next Jennifer Lawrence before Jennifer Lawrence, and essentially her film career kind of came to an end once she took on the Divergent series, which really wasn't her fault. It was just, you know, a bad Twilight knockoff film, but all a good time. We will get to those ones later on down the road, but overall, this is a really good movie. It works specifically for the performances, the writing and direction of Alexander Payne. The comedy is really good. The real serious stuff is really good. It's an all-around winner. I can't recommend this one enough. The Descendants. Great, great film.
Would you look at that? We are the Muppets.
Hello.
Hello. And these are our biggest fans.
Yeah! You excited for our big trip to LA?
There's somebody coming.
Excuse me. Good grief.
Disney presents.
You guys are so talented.
Check it out. Bike shoes.
The biggest event in Hollywood history.
The Muppet Spectacular.
That is awesome.
There's just one problem.
I'm gonna shoot straight. You guys aren't famous anymore.
Yeesh. I wish you'd shot a little more curvy. Let's just start at the bottom and work our way back up to the top. Come on, guys, let's go!
Step 1.
Are you one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yes, I am.
Tour the world.
We should travel by map to Paris!
Step 2. Rehearse the show.
I'm doing a duet with my new dance partner.
Hola.
Let's hold that lift again, shall we?
Hey, the lift again. Okay, on my count this time, okay? In 3, 2, 1.
Step final.
I believe in you, and you, and you, and, well, all of you. Aww. And now, singing chickens.
Make the most sensitive, distinguished,
Prepare yourselves for head bowling. What? I have not signed off on this.
celebrity film, and sophisticated Muppet movie ever made. ever.
Have a seat. Thank you.
I think I'll stand.
Comfy.
This Thanksgiving. Is this movie in 3D? Nope. The Muppets are as one-dimensional as they've always been.
Yeah, watch it.
Jason Segel, Amy Adams, Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, and introducing the newest Muppet, Walter. And the Muppets. Waka waka.
You've been replaced. Oh, yeah. What's that over there? Oh, what?
The Muppets. Say Muppets, say Muppets.
You know it's going to be a great weekend when you're starting off with the Muppets. I mean, who doesn't love these guys? But anyway, welcome to Time About the Movies. Like I said in the opening, this is going to be easily one of the best weekends we've ever covered on this show. 5 films to take a look at for Thanksgiving weekend 2011. All of them are really good movies. Starting off with our first movie here, that is, of course, Disney's The Muppets, which is the big return to the Muppets to the big screen. Their first film since Muppets from Space 12 years ago on the big screen. They've been on TV before with movies and TV specials, but to have them returning into a big screen adventure, you got a film produced by Nick Stoller from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Jason Segel, one of the stars of that movie, who did the puppet play in that movie, if you will. I couldn't remember what I was trying to say here. The puppet show, if you will, from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He's involved in this. It's written by James Bob. It's directed by James Bobbin and written with songs written by him and Brett McKenzie from Fly to the Conchords. I mean, everything is coming together, and unlike some other movies we've taken a look at where you think everything's going to come together and then it doesn't, everything comes together here, and it makes for an incredible film experience. If you never saw the Muppets on the big screen, this would have been your perfect opportunity to see them on the big screen for the first time. So in the movie, you have the new Muppet, Walter, played by Peter Linz, who's the world's biggest Muppet fan, and his brother Gary, played by Jason Segel, along with his friend Mary, played by Amy Adams. They have to raise $10 million to save the Muppet Theater from Tex Richmond, an evil businessman played by Chris Cooper, who plans to demolish the Muppet Theater to drill for oil. And I'll admit, when I first saw it, I really liked the movie. I didn't love it like everybody else did. I think it got like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes back in the day, back when you could actually depend on Rotten Tomatoes. And I came out of it just coming out like, yeah, this is a really good movie. It's not it's not the best Muppet movie ever, but it works for what it was trying to do. And I think mostly it was because the Muppets hadn't really been gone for that long, like the movies try to tell you. Yeah, it had been 12 years since the last theatrical Muppet movie, and 19 since the last really good one, but it had only been about 3 years since the last time the Muppets were in any big TV specials. I mean, they had a holiday special that was on NBC, Letters to Santa, but so for the movie to go as far as to say that it's been way too long since the Muppets have been gone for too long, kind of an understatement overall. They have been around, but you just had to find them to find the newer stuff in general. Not to mention the many commercials they were involved in with various products, but that doesn't change my thoughts on the movie whatsoever, because the movie itself is about as good as you can ask for, and then some. You can tell that Jason Segel has a passion for this. He's the main mastermind behind this project. He's having a ton of fun with this movie, and it definitely shows on the screen. When he's on screen, you can just tell how happy he is to be a part of this. It's like the equivalent of watching Space Jam and watching Michael Jordan. You know, he knows he's going in there having a good time doing this. You don't see a guy that's just clearly doing this for a paycheck. You see a guy that's clearly in love with what he's doing. Here you see that with Segel. He's happy to be involved in this, and everything he was hoping for with this movie seems to work out the way it was represented. Of all the people here, I was actually kind of surprised Amy Adams was kind of misused here. She doesn't really do anything in particular to move the film along, but at the same time, she's fine in here. I don't know. I think for an actress who's just getting started, I would think an actress like Jennifer Lawrence or Elizabeth Banks probably would have been a better role for this at that time. But, you know, you got somebody who's been in many movies before this and have been nominated for several Oscars before this, and she's just not really given a whole lot here to do, per se. I mean, I feel like they brought her in here because, hey, we had goodwill with her with, you know, Enchanted a couple years ago. It was a big hit during the holiday season, so we could do the same thing here with this, But the highlight of the film definitely is the Muppets. They are just as good as and fun to watch in here. They act like the Muppets we know and love. There's great moments in here. There's moments that made me laugh out loud. I mean, the Am I a Man or Am I a Muppet sequence when Jim Parsons... There's a part where, you know, Walter and Jason Segel's character, what was his name again? Gary. Like, they're singing about, you know, Am I a Man or Am I a Muppet? Which got an Oscar for Best Original Song. Well deserved, too. And I think it was actually the first Muppet I think it was actually the first Muppet movie to ever get an Oscar for that. But there's a part where, you know, Jason Segel's singing, like, you know, am I a man or am I a Muppet? And he's looking at a mirror, and it's a Muppet version of himself. But then when it goes to Walter as the Muppet, the human version is Jim Parsons from The Big Bang Theory. And when I saw that for the first time, I laughed so hard when that happened. Like, you're expecting somebody to be there, probably a big name, but you're not expecting to see Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory there. But the other time that made me laugh out loud was when the 80s robot kept showing up on the big screen. Every time he showed up, like, he made me laugh out loud. He was absolutely hilarious every time he was on screen. And the cameos overall, I think, work. It comes to what you expect from the Muppet movies. I know a lot of people thought the cameos were the film's biggest problems, but then again, like, it's really not that big of a deal, especially considering that it is a Muppet movie, and you expect to see a ton of cameos in these movies. The songs overall are great. You know, the new songs are nicely done. You know, you got classics, you know, We Built This City. You know, the best song in this is the version of Rainbow Connection, a new version of the Rainbow Connection, which the original one from the Muppet movie is just so well done and sets you up for the movie that you're about to see. But then when it comes into the end here, and it's just such a good representation of everything that the Muppets had gone through, and thinking that this was probably the end of the road for them with this telethon that they're involved in, and they can't get the money and all that, like, it really was, I'm not gonna lie, I did get a little choked up when I heard it the first time. I thought it was so well done, I thought it was well put together, just a really, really great rendition of that song. I mean, that's right up there with the Bridge of Light sequence from Happy Feet 2, as one of those great moments that just really sticks with you no matter what. My biggest problem with the movie comes from two specific areas. One was kind of a nitpicky thing with, like, the sneaky marketing for Cars 2, which Disney kind of used this to promote Cars 2 of all movies, not once, not twice, but 3 times in the movie. Like, if you want to throw in some marketing Disney, you could have thrown some Mickey Mouse in there, but why Cars 2? Like, why that movie? Why are you so keen on selling that movie to people? The other problem with the movie I had is that some of the self-referential humor was not particularly strong. Like, I mean, I think a show like Community, which was on at that time, had done the better job of any movie or TV show when it comes to making self-referential jokes at that point. The meta jokes on the Community work very well, but here, not exactly. And to me, it has an ending that I still really don't like after all these years. Like, it ends on this great note where you think, you know, the Muppets don't inherit the money, they're going to have to get rid of the studio, and they're all going to be like, hey, as long as we're all together, it doesn't matter where we're at. Like, it, and of course, and, you know, it ends on this really nice note, and then they decide to kind of throw in the cheap happy ending because the Tex Richmond subplot ends on such a bizarre stupor. Like, it ends and they rush it out of there during the end credits. It feels so rushed and unnecessary what they do here, and it just really felt like, oh, come on, man. Like really? That's what you're going to end this on? The good news is that the next movie completely obliterates that point right there and just moves it along from where it was before, from where the end credit ends it there. Like that, when the end graphic comes up, that's when the movie should have ended. Not throw in this completely random ending to your subplot that makes no sense whatsoever. But again, most of these are just kind of nitpicky things to me, but the movie overall is just great. It's a really fun movie. The cast is great for the most part. They're having a good time making the film. The Muppets are great. It's a movie that is very much high up there with the Muppet movies that we've had before. Even with its problems with the plot, it delivers what you asked for and then some. It's a terrific film. I can't recommend it enough. The Muppets, just great, great stuff. And speaking of more great stuff for families, let's move on to our next movie, which is Arthur Christmas.
Get ready for the biggest movie of the holidays. Critics are calling Arthur Christmas
Who's Santa now?
a genuine holiday treat.
Whoopie-doo.
4 stars.
Hello? Where's the champagne?
Fantastic fun. One of the funniest films this year.
I take the North Star there.
That's a plane, sir.
Arthur Christmas. Rated PG.
Once again, I kind of touched on this a lot more in detail in Christmas in July, so if you're going to go check that video out, I'll leave a link to it in the corner. But I'll briefly sum it up for you. This revolves around Arthur Christmas, voiced by James McAvoy, one of the sons of Santa Claus, voiced by Jim Broadbent. The other is Steve, voiced by Hugh Laurie, who makes sure everything runs smoothly on Christmas Eve. But when a child's present is accidentally left over on Christmas Eve, there's only a few hours before sunrise, so Arthur and Grand Santa, voiced by Bill Nighy, travel to bring the present to the child before the sun rises on Christmas Day. And I just really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. For Arbin Animation, this was something that they really needed after the last movie they had put out, Flushed Away, was not the big hit that they were hoping for. But this is a nice return to form for them. And this did a better job of doing a CG animated film than Flushed Away did. And it just works because it's unlike a lot of family films that were coming out at that time. No fart jokes, no toilet humor, no pop culture references. It's a timeless Christmas movie. And the marketing, I think, was the biggest flaw of the film, because kind of like with another movie we talked about recently, Happy Feet 2 and also The Big Year, the marketing really ruined the excitement of the film for a lot of people. And this is one they had to really search out for in Christmases to come. It's definitely worth it because everything about it just works. The voice work is top-notch. James McAvoy is great as Arthur. Bill Nighy's great as Grand Santa. Hugh Laurie and Jim Broadbent are great. You know, there's a lot of moments in here that just work. There's no villain in here. It would have been so easy to make Steve the villain of the film, but they don't do that. He's just somebody who's, you know, he wants to be Santa Claus, but he has to realize over the course of the movie that, you know, you can't always get what you want, but the whole movie's purpose is about the family dynamic, and it's great how at the end of the movie, the thing you're supposed to take away from it is that it's not about the commercialism of Christmas. It's focusing on family, and the way it's done is so well put together. The ending, when they finally get the present to the kid, it's just such a great moment. It just ends on a perfect note. And everything that happens is warranted. Everybody that gets into the situation that they're in, is right where you think they need to be. It's just something that just works on every single level. Again, I've gone into this in greater detail in the Christmas in July video, which, like I said, take a look at that over there. But it's definitely one you want to check out. It's definitely one this Christmas. Seek out Arthur Christmas, because really it is one of the best Christmas movies of recent memory. One of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Just top-notch stuff. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to yet another really good family film out for the holiday season. It's Martin Scorsese taking his crack at it with Hugo.
The magic of cinema has always captured your imagination. This year, only one film, what's your name? Hugo, and one filmmaker are destined to bring that magic back to life. This is where your dreams come from. Hugo is now the Golden Globe winner for Best Director Martin Scorsese.
I am standing before you tonight because of one very brave young man.
Hugo, a Martin Scorsese picture, rated PG.
Like I said, man, this is just a fantastic weekend to bring the family out to the movie theaters. Hugo is a fantasy adventure that takes place in a Paris railway station in the early 1930s. You have Hugo Cabaret, played by Asa Butterfield in his first feature film role, who's a young boy whose mother has died and who lives with his father, played by Jude Law, who's a master clockmaker. He takes him to see films and loves the films of Georges Méliès, who also gave us The Trip to the Moon. Hugo's family dies in a museum fire, and Hugo's taken away by his uncle, an alcoholic water maker who is responsible for maintaining the clocks in the railway station. His uncle teaches him to take care of the clocks and disappears. Hugo lives between the walls of the train station, maintaining the clocks, stealing foods, and working on his father's most ambitious project, a broken automaton, a mechanical man who's supposed to write with a pen, which Hugo's father has found and hoped to repair. The automaton is missing one part, though, a heart-shaped key. Convinced that the automaton contains a message from his father, Hugo goes to desperate lengths to fix the machine. He gains the assistance of Isabelle, played by Chloe Moretz, and a girl who's a girl close to his age, and The Godfather, played by Ben Kingsley, who's a toy shop owner. He introduces Isabella to the movies, which her godfather has never let her see. Isabelle turns out to have the key to the automaton, which unlocks it to provide a drawing of a film scene Hugo remembers his father telling him about. They discover that the film was created by Méliès as Isabelle's godfather, an early but now neglected and disillusioned cinema legend, and that the automaton was a beloved creation of his form from his days as a magician. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The first 30 minutes really didn't get to me at first. It was just kind of like, okay, this is interesting and all, but can we get to the good stuff here? And then right after the first 30 minutes, I'm seeing that with a lot of movies recently. Elemental kind of was like that a couple years ago. This summer we just had Elio. All of them kind of started off really slow, but once you get to the heart of the storyline and it picks up speed, that's when the movie gets really good. And Hugo definitely does that. This is definitely one of the best movies of the year, of 2011. The character of Hugo is very interesting, played by Asa Butterfield. He kind of looks like a younger Cillian Murphy as a kid. But the rest of the cast overall is great. Some of the best acting in years for a lot of people. Ben Kingsley, in particular, man. When you come off of stuff like The Love Guru and Prince of Persia and The Sound of Thunder and Thunderbirds, you take an opportunity like this and you show everybody why you won the Oscar for Gandhi many decades ago. And here, it's one of his best roles. Maybe the best role he's done since Gandhi, honestly. Chloe Moretz is really good here. I like Sacha Baron Cohen, very funny as the station inspector who's like trying to get to Hugo and take him away from the station. And what I really like about the movie is that the story changes from one end to the other. You think the movie's going to revolve around Hugo trying to find out the secret behind what his father left behind, but then it kind of takes this whole turn. It doesn't just change it out of nowhere. It takes a while to really understand what's going on, and they reveal it, and they do it smartly, and not just throw it in there with you at the last minute. The visuals in here are fantastic to look at. The shots look incredible. In 3D, this looked amazing to watch. Robert Richardson, the cinematographer for this, deserved an Oscar nomination for this. I don't know if he got one or not, but well done, man. This is some of the best cinematography I've seen in a long, long time, with the 3D working incredibly well as well. My only real flaw with the movie is they do one of the most hated cliches of mine, the dream sequence. Not only once, but twice within 5 minutes. And I'm sorry, I cannot stand that sequence. It is nothing but filler. It adds nothing to the equation. It doesn't elevate the story anymore. It's just filler for some reason to wake the audience up, the idiots that are too stupid to follow along with the plot. Because, I'm sorry, that's a dumb, dumb cliche, and I'm hoping that, I'm glad to see we're getting away from that and not doing it unless we really need to move the story along. And yeah, it really does waste your time here. But that's only a 5-minute segment that takes a little bit of a bad chunk of a really good movie all across the board. I mean, this is definitely one of the year's best movies. I mean, this is fantastic, visually impressive, acting great. The best overall feel of any movie I saw this year. And yeah, Midnight in Paris was my favorite movie of the year. This one is definitely very much high up there. And this is definitely something that is one of the highlights of the year. And like I said, 2011 was off to a rocky start the first half of the year. But thank God that the second half of the year has just come out swinging. And we're just getting one great movie after another. This is just a masterpiece. What more can I say, man? Hugo is fucking fantastic. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is My Week with Marilyn.
Saw the legend.
Is it true you wear nothing in bed but perfume?
Nothing but Yardley's lavender. I long to see her.
But one man
Miss Monroe
saw the truth.
You frightened of me, Colin? No. Good, because I like you. Marilyn Monroe fancying me. Come on.
She breaks hearts. She will break yours.
Marilyn knows exactly what she's doing.
Michelle Williams, Kenneth Branagh, Eddie Redmayne, Dominic Cooper, Jim Carter, Emma Watson, Judi Dench.
This love is such sweet despair.
My Week with Marilyn.
So this is, of course, the story of Michelle Williams playing Marilyn Monroe on the making of her 1957 movie The Prince and the Showgirl with Laurence Olivier, played by Kenneth Branagh. The film concerns the week during the shooting of which Monroe was escorted around London by a guy named Clark, played by Eddie Redmayne in one of his early film roles, after her husband, Arthur Miller, played by Dougray Scott, has returned to the United States. You also see a cast that includes Julia Ormond, Emma Watson, Judi Dench, and terrific movie, man. Directed by Simon Curtis. Simon Curtis, of course, was the man that gave us, I thought it was the same guy that did Four Weddings and a Funeral, but no, he did David Copperfield. He's also directed the most recent Downton Abbey movies. He did Woman in Gold, Goodbye Christopher Robin, and The Art of Racing in the Rain. And overall, a terrific movie, and it works mostly because of Michelle Williams as Marilyn Monroe. She really does knock it out of the park, and you can see why she was nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars. And she works it very well here. She has a lot of good chemistry between her and Branagh, her and Dougray Scott, and also her and Eddie Redmayne. Like, who wouldn't have wanted to spend a week with Marilyn Monroe? I mean, honestly, who wouldn't have wanted to do that back in the day? Especially if somebody like Michelle Williams is playing her in this case. But, I mean, just a terrific performance for her. She's having a really good year this year because she was great in that FX show Dying for Sex, which she plays like she was playing a woman who had like cancer, and like she decided, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and start having sex more. She was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she left her husband in search for an orgasm. That's what happened. I mean, that was basically right beforehand, but I just wanted to be specific. I just wanted to be clear on that, But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this movie, and it is a well-made film. It's a movie that, yeah, it is trying to beg for Oscars, but it's doing it in a way where it's actually working to the film's favor. It's a well-done film, boasted by a strong leading performance by Michelle Williams. Just proof that, she is one of our great actresses that deserves some Oscar recognition. Hopefully that day will come where someone will give it to her, and not just for a body of work performance, but great movie. Great movie overall. Not much more to say about that one. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the actual Best Picture winner this year, which unlike last year's The King's Speech, was well deserved, and that is The Artist.
Stop. Listen. Can you hear it? Something big is happening at the movies.
It represents hopefulness and possibility.
Really amazing. It just blew me away.
It's a great way to tell a story. You really can't take your eyes off it. It's simple, great filmmaking.
Winner Golden Globe for Best Picture.
This truly is a great film, whatever era.
It's powerful. It's about the magic of movies, and it's about how movies are timeless.
On the top 10 list of over 200 critics nationwide.
Beautiful, intense Hollywood love story.
And now it's been nominated for 10 Academy Awards, including Best Actor, Best Director, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Picture of the Year.
I think it's a movie for everybody.
It's movie magic. That's where it all happens. The Artist, rated PG-13.
So yeah, this was a movie that swept the Oscars, won 5 of them, including Best Picture, Best Director for Michael Hazanavicius. I think I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Jean Dujardin won Best Actor. Denise Bejo was also nominated for Best Supporting Actress. And it's a movie that is a love letter to movies, and the Oscars love a love letter to movies, and this was one of those ones where it just works on so many levels. It takes place in Hollywood between 1927 and 1932 and focuses on the relationship between a rising young actress, played by Bejo, and an older silent film star as silent cinema falls out of fashion and is replaced by the talkies. And you see an interesting character study between these two. One person who's made a living of starring in these silent pictures, and somebody who's on the rise, who's getting ready to take over this new form of filmmaking, and they find a connection and a chemistry that works together so well. This movie did everything right that The King's Speech did wrong. It was an Oscar bait movie, but it wasn't an Oscar bait movie that was literally begging for Oscars, even if it was not delivering anything of noteworthiness to it. Here, it just works. The film looks like something that's straight out of the silent film era. It's so well done on how it's handled, and Jean Dujardin and Denise Bejo are very, very good together. They have a strong cast in front of them to make it work. A strong supporting cast, James Cromwell, Penelope Ann Miller, Malcolm McDowell, Missy Pyle, John Goodman, Ken Davitan. Just terrific cast overall in this. And it is a beautiful looking film to look at. Even though it is a silent film, like I said, it feels like you're back in the 20s when this is taking shape. And it just works so well. It's a love letter to the movies. It's beautifully put together. It's well done. It's an amazing film. It's a great film. I'm so happy it won Best Picture. Granted, I would have loved it if Hugo or Midnight in Paris had won Best Picture that year. But if a good movie is going to beat them out, I really don't have a problem with it whatsoever. And The Artist is a very, very good movie. It's one of the Best Picture winners that sadly nobody ever talks about as much anymore. These people that made this and won the Oscars have not really done a whole lot in terms of, anything of noteworthiness since then. I think Jean Dujardin has only been in a couple movies. He was in Wolf of Wall Street, but other than that, though, he hasn't been in much since, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check and see, but again, it's not like these people are out of work. They're still doing stuff, but nothing as high profile as this movie was. But like I said, terrific film. Can't recommend this one enough. The Artist, seek it out, man. It's a wonderful, wonderful film.